Hello. Today we're going to spend some time working with and helping you to understand how to work with Microsoft Teams, as we'll spend a little time helping you learn how to navigate the program, see how you can post messages and enrich your conversations, centralize your resources on the different tabs, collaborate on your files in real time. We'll show you how you can schedule and join and manage your meetings, as well as customizing your Teams experience. We'll spend some time today helping you understand the different parts about working with your team and what is all available, as this is our major tool we'll be using here at GDOT to keep people up to date and abreast with our different changes and be able to work with a little bit more than simply emailing someone with your details. Teams. What is Microsoft Teams? Microsoft Teams is a collaborative cloud-based workspace where Office 365 users can send messages, share files, and keep up to date with what's happening with your group. We'll show you that you can use the tool to create different teams and organize your information for any time you'll have any group collaboration or communication. This might be your department, a project, or anytime you need to get together with other people. A team will show you has different channels, which is where you can share your messages, files, and chat and keep up to date with everything. Teams can be public or private. Public, of course, means anyone can hop into the meeting, into the team, and join it, whereas a private team is moderated by its owners to allow the owners to choose who can be a part of the team. You can be a part of as many teams as you'd like, and you can leave at any time. We'll show you some of the different tools you're working on in Teams so you can get the most out of it. On your screen, you'll see a version of Teams opened up, my version of Teams. You'll see in the upper left-hand corner, we have the back and forward button to allow you to jump around in Teams. If you go to a different location and need to come back to it, you can use the arrows to jump back to Teams, to your last place in Teams. You have your pencil tool, which allows you to quickly start a new chat. You can also see in the top, if you want to start a new chat in the command bar, you can click in there and simply type in the @ sign followed by the last name or of the user you want to communicate with, and you can start a nice brief conversation up there in the command bar. This is very handy as it allows you to still jump around and work in different locations in Teams and still be able to see your message up at the top. You can also type in the / command to see all of your / opportunities, which are very handy if you need to let people know that you're available, we'll be right back, or if you want to turn off all notification, you can use /DND. This also allows you to view saved and unread messages fairly easily without having to go through and hunt for them by simply typing in /saved or /unread. On the right-hand side, you'll have your profile pic, your profile picture next to your minimize, restore down, and close options for Teams. Your profile picture will allow you to work with your different options for your profile, such as coming in and setting up so you can change what your status is fairly easily. You can even set a status message if necessary. This is where we can save our messages in chats so we can quickly get back to them, as well as going in and setting up your settings. Your settings allows you to set how your general view for Teams will be. If you want to change the color, this is where you can come to that. You can also see it allows me to mark that my system automatically starts so that I can actually have Teams opened up already. If not, if Teams does not open automatically, you can always go down to the search box and type in Teams or click on the Start button to open Teams if you don't have an icon on your desktop. This also allows me to set my privacy for people to still access me, even if I turn on my Do Not Disturb. I can control what my notifications pop open on my screen. There are also my different devices that I can verify are working with Teams, such as my headset or my microphone, as well as being able to scroll down and check to see that I can see my camera and show that I appear on the screen. There's also a calls option for you to set up voicemails within Teams to make sure that you're recording the correct message and other details were set up. But the main part of Teams, once we check our top options, is our different tools on our left-hand side. We can go and open up those different tools through different options to see them. There are also different shortcuts we can use to look at them. You might have noticed under my profile picture that I can go down and turn on my keyboard shortcuts. This will show me all of my basic shortcuts that I can use here in Teams. You can also call that up by holding down your Alt key and typing the / key on your keyboard as a shortcut to see your keyboard shortcuts. The first activity on the left-hand side, the tab, is your activity bell, and this shows you most of your activities that have been happening recently in Teams. This might have been where you've been mentioned, where someone's reacted to your message, or you've had different conversations that are going back and forth between you and another person. You can also change your feed to look at your different activities, and this will show you where you can view the different recent activities you've had within the past few days and check your communications. By clicking on them, they will go and select those options, making it very easy for you to find them. This will keep you up to date with your feed. You can also click on the filter tool to filter out and search for certain conversations by typing in what you're looking for, and that way you can search for it. You can also use the ellipsis or 3 dots in that section to go and focus on options such as where you might have been mentioned, looking at your unread messages, if you want to see what reactions you've had, or any other replies. These are very easy to click on and see what comes up. Once you've checked on your information, you'll see it highlights it and slowly fades back to a normal color. You can close that by clicking on the X, and that will return back to showing all the information. All right. The first tool on our system is after the activity bell is your chat option. You can either click on chat, or the shortcut is the Control-2 key. Chats are your private conversations you've had between one or more people. Your chat messages can record and keep track of everything that you're communicating as a way to organize those details. When you communicate with one individual, you'll have certain tabs on the chat that you can work with. There will be the chat tab, which is basically just your conversation tab, your files tab for any files that you've uploaded into the chat conversation, your organization tab, which shows where that person is located within the organization, and an activity tab that might be hidden that allows you to see different activities that you've communicated with with that specific person. If that's not enough tabs, you can add more of them by clicking on the tab key and then choosing which type of tab that you want to add. Also, with your chat conversations, you might decide that you need to go into a video call, so you have the little camera that can participate and set up a call between you and that person immediately. There's also a phone call option where you can do an audio call, or you can share your desktop or screen with that person so they can see what you're looking at, and that's a nice way to show demonstrations and to let people see what you're doing on your screen you're working with. You also have the option to add additional people to it, but if you go beyond 2 people, it will start a brand new chat. After a 3rd person, if you add a 4th, 5th, or 6th, you will have the option to include other people and let them see your previous chat conversations as well. So this way you can then communicate and share that detail with the chat tab. The Teams tab is the major focus of Microsoft Teams, as this lets you go in and create different teams that you can work with. A team will generally have a general channel, although you can add multiple channels as a way to focus the communication under that project or team you're working with. You can group them in your team or create hidden teams that you can view. The general channel, as I said, is the default channel, but you can also have a files tab to all the files that are working in that channel, or a wiki tab for just more information you want to post in that channel for people to have more information. You will also be able to upgrade and have a calendar in Teams. The calendar will show all of your recent events, your meetings, and other activities that you're participating in, so you can see them fairly easily on your screen, those that you've joined and those that you've created. You can go and meet now, or you can actually just set up a meeting in the future by clicking on plus new meeting. You'll also see how we can work on this and set this up over in Outlook, so you'll have that option available as well. Your calls tab on the left-hand side allows you to do calls within Teams as a way to keep up to date and communicate. You can see I've added a few people to my speed dial. You can also check your contacts list. Once you've called and spoken with someone, you will have a history where you can go in and see your history of other communications. Very easy to help find and communicate with other people. And there is the voicemail tool, which will be able to record older voicemails, so you can go back and check on those voicemails at your convenience. As you upload files into Teams, you might need to go and check on them rather than having to go and hunt through the chat messages on the channels in the Teams to find your specific file. You'll see that by clicking on the Files tab over there, I can go and find the file very easily. It will show you where the file is located, and you can either click on it or you click on the ellipsis to the right of it, and you'll see I can open it directly here in Teams or in a browser or a desktop app, or download it so I can have a copy myself, or even get a link that I can send to someone. Although if you want to delete a file that you've inputted into Teams, you'll need to go to the Teams channel where it's located to remove it from there. You'll see it breaks it down to my recent files. Those are stored in Microsoft Teams, and that takes usually a moment to come up, and you can see all of our selections. Or I can see which files I might have downloaded recently from Teams to work on myself. You also have your OneDrive account. Teams stores files in your Teams tab on your SharePoint site, whereas it stores your chats in the Chats tab on your OneDrive account. I can also click on the ellipsis and you'll see other options in there for other applications I can work with, like OneNote, Planner, Stream, and Wiki are all available there for me to work with. Or I can check my apps by clicking on the Apps tab over on the left-hand side. And if you have questions later on, there is the Help option that you can click on Help to go and find most of the information that you might need when working with Teams. Simply click on a link on the left-hand side, and you can scroll down to find more information. And if you have a specific question, if it's common to what someone might have asked before, you have your FAQ and click on All, and this will come up with all of your frequently asked questions people have had about Teams. Very handy to go look through it. Please understand, though, it might not have been totally updated. For example, if I scroll down and ask, can I delete an old chat? It'll say it's good to get rid of clutter, but you might want to keep your information there. It's not really a good idea to delete your chat conversations. It does say that you can delete your messages that you sent in Teams, but due to GDOT policies, you cannot delete any chat messages, although as you'll see, we can go in and edit that information to work with. So this gives you a way to go in and work with Teams. Most of us as GDOT employees will already have it installed, although if you decide that you want to upload a copy onto your mobile device, simply go to where you download applications on your phone to work with it, or if you have a GDOT phone, you can download that into AppCat, so that way you can then have your own copy and follow through with your tools on the phone. When you're ready to work with Teams, the major benefit of it, of course, as I said, is to create a team. Let's go ahead and click on the Teams tab on the left-hand side. When you're ready to create a team, you'll go down to the bottom of the Teams pane, and at the bottom, you'll see Join or Create a Team. When I click on that, you'll see it opens up my view for different teams that are available. It will show you some public teams that you can hop into and join. If you know the team you're looking for, but you don't see it immediately, you can click in Search Teams to go and find that team. Or you can request a code for a team that you want to join, and that way they can then input that information where it says enter code to join a team with a code. Although in this case, we'll go and take a practice of generating our own teams. So we'll click on Create Team. You'll have the opportunity to create a team from a previous team or an Office 365 group, or you can build the team from scratch. Creating it from a group or team will help save you some trouble, as you can include all the channels, all the individuals, and other information that you might need from a team you've worked with before. Let's build one from scratch, and you'll see it opens up to give us the opportunity to save it as a private or a public team. Private teams, if someone wants to join your team, they will need you to let them in as an owner. Public teams, anyone can hop into. So let's go ahead and create a private team, and that opens up our team name where we can type in our information. So give the team a name that you think would be appropriate to the project that you're working on, or to help you remember who's involved with the team. Here, I'll simply call this my Parrot project. Then you might want to just type in a description of the team so that people who are joining it, or to remind yourself exactly what the team is about, you'll have this to look over it. So this team is to introduce people to the Parrot project. At the top right of the name, you will see a little check mark in a circle to let you know that that name is valid to work with. You'll click on create and you'll see that it creates a team. Then you can add other members to the team by simply typing in their names, usually last name first, and you'll be able to go and select your team members to join that team. You can add multiple people to the team by simply typing in their names. You can also add a team to a team. So if you already have a group of members in the team that you want to work with, rather than having to retype all of them in there, you can simply type in the team name and that will put in all of the users. Thankfully, it does not insert any users multiple times, so there'll only be one time to work with it. Once you input the names, you will see that they're added as members. You can click the drop down, you'll have the opportunity to add them as owners. You can add up to 250 members to a team, and you can have up to 100 different owners. So you have plenty of people you can put into the team and have access to work with them. When you click close, it will send those users a little note to let them know that they are now part of the team. When you have your teams, they will be ordered by the order in which you create them, unless you go in and select them and rearrange them. For example, maybe I think the Parrot project is an important project for me to keep in mind, so I can put my pointer on it and click and drag it up to the top, so that way I can be easy to find with my teams. You'll have your grouping of your teams, and you'll have a grouping with your hidden teams. This allows you to organize and set up your different teams. Those in the hidden teams, if you click on the arrow to expand that, will all be listed alphabetically, and that way we can see our selections for our different teams that we're working with as we add them and set them up. By default, a team will have the general channel. The general channel makes it easy for you to organize your different chats and information. We can also create other channels if necessary. Next to the name of the team, you'll see the little ellipsis on there. Those three dots allow you for more options. The hide option would move it down into the hidden teams at the bottom, which you could then later on click on and show it. You can also manage your teams, which gives you control of what you can do with the team, such as checking your channels, checking what members are in there, maybe removing a member or adding a new member, or checking other permissions you might have for your team. You have the option to add member if you forgot to add them at the beginning or decide that you want to put somebody else in there. You can add channels, which allows you to provide more focused communication rather than throwing everything into the general channel. If you're done with the team, you can leave the team, although we recommend that you don't leave the team unless you've made someone else the owner of the team so they can work on it. If you change your mind later and decide, you know what, that really isn't the right name for my team, or I want to change my description or even change the policies of the team, change it from private to public or from public to private, you can use Edit Teams to change it. If you want to get a link to send to someone, there's Get Link, and there is the option to delete the team if you made a mistake and want to get rid of it. Although we recommend that if you've worked on the team for a while, you might not want to delete it because deleting it will get rid of all the chat messages in it, as well as all the files and the connections for all your teams. So we'll show you later on how you might consider archiving the team if you don't need it. So if I want to add a new channel to this team, I'll click on Add Channel. And as you can see, this opens up to ask for a listing for the channel for my Parrot project. I'm going to call it my News and Events channel. So I'll type in News and Events. And then for a description, I will say this channel is to keep people up to date. I can mark it so that it automatically shows in everyone's channel list. Click on Add, and you'll see that adds my News and Events channel to my Parrot project team. Now with your channels, when you add them, you'll have the opportunity to set and change the status of them. You can see the opportunity on there is currently for show. As you'll see, it's italicized to let me know that that is a hidden channel. And I can click on show usually, and it will show that information. If it's not shown, a hidden channel will usually show up as just a hidden channel in our screen to view it. Now with your conversations, as you set up your channels on there, you can also have the opportunity to adjust and change your channels. When I go to my news and events channel, I can click on the 3 dots and you'll see opportunities for materials you can work with for your channels, such as I can go in and manage the channel to control what my members can work with on my channel. I can get a link to send to someone. I could change the name of the channel. I can delete the channel if necessary and rearrange it that way. If I go up and I click on the ellipsis next to the general channel, because it's a major channel, it's a visible channel, I'll have the opportunity to follow the channel. Following the channel will make sure that if any new activity happens, my activity bell will ring on my on the left-hand side, so I can easily see any new messages that happen on that channel. The major benefit, of course, of your channels is to pass information back and forth to all the members on your team. So I might type here a simple welcome to the Parrot project, and I can send that message out. All of my members who are a part of my team will then be able to see that message and be able to contact me back to let me know that, hey, there's a new message in there. So this way I can then check my messages and pass along signals back and forth to other people in my team. So it's very easy to work with your different channels and change your information on your screen. Just understand that once you post a message in the chat, it cannot be deleted due to GDOT policies. You need to check the GDOT email use and retention policies, so have no real expectation of privacy with respect to your GDOT messages. Now, when you're communicating with other people in your chat messages, make sure that if you want to reply back to a specific message, you click on the reply box. The reply box will allow you to post information back that's connected to that message. If you use the box at the bottom where it says start a new conversation, it might not be connected with the message, as sometimes they might move around because teams will consider that as a brand new conversation that you're communicating with that person with. Underneath your chat messages, you'll see that there's a little A that you can go and click on. That's your format tool. That will open up the compose box where you can see what can be typed into your messages. So if I wanted to reply, if I want to add more to that message, or someone replied back to it, you can open that up and then type in your messages. This also will benefit of opening it up with the compose box, is you'll see your formatting options where you can go in there and mark it as bold, italic, underline, strike through. You can add a little bit of highlighting or text color. You can modify your paragraph, clear out the formatting, or add other options like bullets, or insert some space into your tools. There's also an ellipsis on the right-hand side where you'll see you can insert things like a table or mark it as important. Now with your messages, as I said, you can't delete them once you've posted them, but if you change your mind in the middle of a message, there is a little trash can over on the right-hand side that you can click on so you can actually remove it from your screen. All you have to do is simply select the item that you want to change, and then I can go up and I can mark it as bold, or go and change the text color if I wanted to make it a little bit more fancy, and you'll see that adjust your text. Now with your messages, you can also update and add other information to your chat messages. We'll see there's a paperclip icon, which allows us to attach files. When you attach a file, it will upload the file into Teams so that Teams will hold it so we can all keep up to date with what's happening with that message. If it's a Word file, an Excel file, or a PowerPoint file, we can all work on that file together in real time. If it's a Adobe Acrobat PDF file or files that are not able to be worked with in Microsoft, then you can simply view it and see our selections. To attach a file, you'll simply click on the paperclip. That will open up and you can either go and find recent files you've worked on, browse through your teams that you have access to in channels, look on OneDrive, or upload from your computer. If I go to upload from my computer, I might see some files that I might want to work with it. One that I find pretty handy is this MS Teams interface. I'll click on that to open it, and you'll see that uploads it onto my Teams site, which is my SharePoint site, so other people can access and change it together. If I want to add little emojis, I can click on the emojis, and you'll see little emojis that have action when I click on them to add and work with it. If you wanted to do a meeting with someone before you send out the message, there's a meeting icon, or you can check your string. Once you click on the arrow to send it or hit the enter key, it will send off that message fairly quickly. If you want to do a return in the same line, Hold down your Shift key when you press the Enter key to move down to the next line so that you can add more into that chat window without having to reach the right-hand side of the chat to add more detail. Now, if I make a spelling error on my document as I send out my message, after I send it out, as I said, we cannot delete the chat message. Other people receive the message and can see it. Now, with the message, you can put your pointer over the message itself, whether it's from yourself or other people, and you'll see little emojis that you can add for a little bit of interest. If I click on the ellipsis next to the message, you'll see that I can save the message so that I can look at it later on, and you can find that by clicking on your profile picture and clicking on the Save selection. You can mark it as unread to find it, or I can go back in and edit the message. So if I correct my little spelling error and type it the correct version of here and click on the check mark to send it again, you'll notice it does put on there that the message has been edited so they can see those changes on there. Now, if you go into a new conversation and click on the Format Compose button, you'll see that it does give you a few more options, such as you can go in for your new conversation and make it into an announcement, which will add a little megaphone to it when other people receive the message, giving you a headline for the message that you can see and work with your details by selecting other colors or clicking on the background image to go and download a picture from your computer that you can then clip out an image about 918 pixels wide by 120 pixels high that you can use as part of your message, where you can also type a subheading and other details you're working with. If you want to control who can reply to your messages, you have the option to control that. You can even have the opportunity to choose where you want to post your message. If you want to post it in multiple teams and channels you have access to, you can click on Post in Multiple Channels and then go and select your channels from the teams where you want to access them. But I'll give you ways to work and have that to update your file so you don't have to worry about copying and pasting the same message to multiple teams and channels. And as I said, if you change your mind about the message, you can go ahead and click on the delete key, and this will allow you to discard that message so you can focus on your specific messages that you're working with. So this lets you update and work with your files so that you can go in and edit them and make your changes. Now, if you have a problem in Teams and you're like saying, no, I can't quite remember how to do that, there is the help feature in Teams on the left-hand side at the very bottom. As I said, you can click on help and that will bring up your help window again. So you can go back in and work on that and get a little reminder about some other features you can work with. Simply click on any of the tabs on the left-hand side and you can go and select your views for other information to work in Teams. With my Parrot project, I can go back here and there's different ways you can work with your channels. On your different channels, they will be different tabs that you can work with. The default tabs are the Post, the Files, and the Wiki tab. The Post tab, as we said, is basically where you can go and check all of your communication. If I go here to my News and Events, you'll see it also has the Post, Files, and Wikis tab. With one other option you can work with, Post tab, is you can actually do what's called a mention of other people. Mentions is where you'll type in the @ before someone's name. It'll usually give you a listing of all the members in your team. You just simply select that person and then you can type in a message. You can either do the mention at the beginning or in the body of the message. This allows you to communicate and involve people in the conversation, as when they receive the message, it will let them know they've been mentioned by putting an @ on the right-hand side, like for example where my information icon is, or by changing their text name to red to indicate that they've been mentioned. Once you type it in there, just go ahead and click on Send, and that will send the message to the people that you want to mention on your team or wherever they're located. They will receive a little notification on their activity bell to let them know that they've been mentioned. You'll see that for Mr. Fuller here, I can put my pointer on him and get more descriptive information about him, which will appear and let them also know that that person was mentioned so they can find out more about them, start a chat with them, start an email with them, check their location, the organization, start a video call with them, or call them so they can communicate, or you can simply start a brand new message right there to the people that you've mentioned. Now with your files, once they've been updated, as you can see, he sends back the message, let me know he received it. And if you have it installed on your mobile device, it'll go off to let you know as well. If you have an important message, you can, as I said, mark it by clicking on the ellipsis once you put your pointer on it as a saved message or mark it as unread. Saving the message will store it in the system so it can be found fairly quickly, or you can click on the ellipsis and mark it as unread. Marking it as unread will put a blue line, the last red blue line on there, to let you know where the message is. So that way I can click off of the message and come back to it later on. Usually a channel or a team will let you know that there's new messages in there if it's a visible channel. So you can click on that to see the messages that you might have missed. And that way you'll see that line on it. Unfortunately, the last red line only appears temporarily. If I click off of it and click elsewhere, it will go away. If I want to keep a message in there and find it fairly often, I will usually mark it as a saved message, as we just did. When you click on saved under your profile picture, it'll give you a listing of all of your saved messages. It makes it very easy to find them by simply clicking on them. You'll see you jump to that message so you can see the detail. And if you no longer need a saved message, you can click on the bookmark next to the message or put your pointer over the chat message. Click on the ellipsis and you'll see the option to unsave the message, and that will let it disappear. Let's go back over to our team, and you'll see that news and events currently is just regular text to let me know that I've looked at all the messages in it. If I want to go over here to the Welcome to the Parrot Project and click on the ellipse, you'll see the option to mark it as unread, but it'll be set up by default on there. As soon as I step away from the message, it'll mark it on there. Therefore, I can easily find the message again, and you can use the unread and read option or the saved option to find the file fairly easily. All right, when you're uploading files, you can look through the chat to find them, or you can go up to the Files tab, and the Files tab will store all of the files that you've uploaded into the team. You also have the opportunity to upload files directly into your teams if you don't want to add them to the chat so people can work with them. Simply click on the Upload button on the Files tab, and you can then see on the left-hand side, it'll show your locations on your computer. And on the right-hand side, you'll be able to see your different files that you can work with. If I'll go into my trainer folder, I have a few manuals. I can go to my MS Teams folder and get some exercise files that I can upload. Simply go to the folder where you want to find the file, click on it, click on Open, and that file will be uploaded into Teams so that you can then all work on it together. Now, as I said, with your files, once they're uploaded, you can work on them in real time. Simply click on the file, whether in the Post or on the Files tab where it's located, and that will give you the opportunity to open it up in Teams so you can work on it together. You'll also have the opportunity to click on the ellipsis next to it, where you can go and look at it in a browser, on your desktop app, or in SharePoint. But if I click on it right now, you'll see it opens up in Teams so we can see our file and connect with it. If you'll see at the top, there's the Edit button. This is a Word document. As I mentioned before, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint allow other people who also are on your team to hop into this file and make changes. When they do, on the upper right-hand corner, you will see little circles with their pictures, their profile picture or their initials, so they can participate in that file as well. Simply click on the file and you can go and make our changes. For example, if I want to change the name of my Keynote address here, I can simply highlight that and type in my own name. If anyone else is in this file, they will also be able to hop into this file and work on it as well. It's all live and up to date, so it makes it very easy to work on the file. Now, with the file on there, I can start a conversation with the file by clicking on Start a Conversation. That will show the file back on my Post tab, so I can then type in recommendations or details other people can add as well. And that will be included with the file. And as I said, if you make a mistake with it, you can click on the ellipsis and edit the file if you've made a little spelling error. Now, when you work in your files in Teams or anything that's been uploaded into Teams, you want to make sure that if you're going to totally change things around and want to keep the original file, you might want to remember to click on the Files tab and save a copy of the file, because anything that you change in the file will automatically update it and saved. As you'll notice on my left-hand side here, there is no saved button. It automatically updates any changes. As you can see at the top here with my activity, it says that it's already saved the file. And there are most of your basic tools here in Teams that you can work with. Although, you can, as I said, you can also download it into your desktop app and work on it while it's still stored here on our SharePoint server, so we can work on it together. I can close the file and come out, and it'll tell me that it was last modified by myself just a few minutes ago. You can also create your files immediately here in Teams by clicking on the New button. The New button will allow you to create folders to help organize your files. You can also go and create Word files, Excel files, or PowerPoint presentations that everyone can work on together. You can upload a maximum of 10 files at a time into Teams. They all have to be in the same folder for you to update and work with. The Wiki tab is basically for any specific information you want to share with other people in Teams. You can right-click on the wiki if you change your mind and want to get rid of it. You can rename it or remove it. But the Post tab and the Files tab are permanently locked in there. You cannot change the name of them or remove them. If you want to add another tab, simply click on the plus sign, and you can add an additional tab to your message. You'll see the grouping of them are by your Excel, Word, Planner. You can add streams and websites, or PowerPoints, or even graphs with your Power BI. So you can have lots of different opportunities to add those on your screen. If I wanted that agenda to be easy for people to see, I can click on Word, and I can set activity 1.3 onto that tab. Click Save, and you'll see I have a new tab at the top called Word with those changes in it. I can right-click on it, and I might come down here and I might rename it as my agenda. So that sets it up on my file, so now I can easily recognize that connection of the file that I'm working with. If you want to, you can also click on the word bubble to add a little tab conversation so that people can update and check their information for their file. So if you want to include details with it, that will be included. If I go back here to the Post tab, you'll see it shows me information about the activity I put onto the Files tab, as well as where I added it to the channel, and which is a link so they can click on it to quickly get to that location and see the information and update it if necessary. So it's just ways to make it easy for people to work on the files and update those changes so they can see what's available and update everything together in Teams. As people update and change information, you might have noticed over here on the left-hand side, my activity and my chat have a little 1 next to it to let me know that I have a new message. If I click on the activity bell, it'll show me that, in this case, Tabitha mentioned me, and you'll see that just as I mentioned earlier, it has the little @ sign, and my name currently has that red color on it. Since it's the same message, once I click on it in one location, it will color it the same in both locations on our screen. And if I want to focus on just my activity, I can click the drop down for the activity and be able to go and focus my communications a little bit better. With your teams, if you're trying to, your command bar will also allow you to search through your teams to find some of the different teams that you're working on. So I can come up here and I can type in Parrot, and it'll show not only the people who are involved with it, but some of my different projects that might have the term Parrot in them. So I can go to jump to them very quickly in my Teams program. So this gives you a lot of tools for working with your messages to see what's going on and allow for me to filter and work with those different tools. I can also filter out my teams when I have a lot of them. So if I'm looking for a specific team or channel, I can type that into the box. So there's a lot of ways to focus on your information and work here in Teams to see what's available as you move around and jump into it. But your Teams does allow for a lot of control with you're working with it, and that way you can focus on your conversations. Your Teams information, as I mentioned, is stored in your SharePoint site. So all the information and Teams channel conversations are designed to be accessible by anyone who is a member of the team. There's no real hidden feature as we have set up right now at GDOT. So be aware that anything you post on a channel in a project will be visible by other people. And it's very good to do this because that way it can streamline what's going on in your project to provide other information for people to recognize and see, as well as to keeping your whole team in the know. Over on my chat tab, the chat tab allows you to focus your specific conversations that you're working with. So that way you can know what's happening in the meeting and see what's going on. Now with your team chats, this can be with one individual or with multiple individuals. You'll have the opportunity to click on the ellipsis next to an icon, and therefore you can then take that meeting and move it up if you wanted to by pinning it to the top. Pinning a message, make sure that it stays at the top of the chat message. So if you have an important chat conversation, you might want to put it up at the top to view it. If you change your mind, you can click on the ellipsis and unpin it. This conversation I had earlier with Dennis, maybe I want to move that to the top. You'll see the opportunity for me to mark it as unread, and you'll see that gives a dark color and marks it over in my chat so I can find it easier. I can also make him a favorite contact. If I don't want to hear from Dennis anymore, I could mute him or hide the conversation. Or if he's busy, I can notify me when he's available. You'll see right now it currently shows him as a little orange clock next to Dennis and Miss Dobie there, so that I'll know that they're busy. Whereas if you'll see right now for Mr. Buchanan right now, I can see him marked as a green color to let me know that he's currently available. Since I'm in a meeting right now, you'll see my profile picture gives me a little red color. Your chat messages you can consider as more private, as only the members who are part of the chat will see that message. They're very good for building one-off or private conversations, or in most cases to build rapport. If I click on another message and then click back onto that previous message, you'll see that it goes back to regular text to let me know that I finished that conversation and have viewed it. At the top, of course, I can click on the chat to start a brand new chat conversation, or then I can then start typing people in to communicate. If I type in different names on people who you might want to communicate with, you'll see it pops open different information. I can go and select someone, and that way I can then start a conversation on them and add other people. I can remove them if I change my mind, or I can go to other conversations. Now, in this case, I've communicated just with Mr. Fuller. You'll see at the top, the tab gives me chat, as well as files, organization, and activity, as well as the opportunity to add other tabs to the chat conversation. If I wanted to add additional people to it, I can click on the little icon, add people, and add an additional person. I'll go and select Ms. Dobie, add her, and click on add, and you'll see that it gives me the opportunity to add a brand new chat message. So adding a third person to a chat message essentially will create a brand new chat. You won't be able to see the previous conversations. But if you add a fourth, fifth, or sixth person once you've communicated for a while, and click on add people, you'll see the opportunity to include more information in there of the previous chat conversations. You can choose not to include the history. You include a certain number of days of history, or simply include all the chat messages as well. And that way, Ms. Morgan will see our previous conversation. You can also change the name of the chat message if you want to by clicking on the little pencil next to it, and you can give the chat message a name to make it easier to find in the future. And you'll see that gives you a way to recognize that team fairly easily as you create and add different details to it. People will then be able to reply the message. You can continue the chats. Well, the nice thing about the chat window is you can step away and come back to the message and work with them asynchronously to keep up to date. Anytime a new message is added to the chat, it will change the color of the chat to bold, so you can see that. Additionally, with your chat message, you have opportunities to go in and work with them just like any other messages by clicking on the ellipsis to save, mark as unread, or edit it, or add little icons to it. You also have the opportunity to set it up as a video call. So maybe you're typing along and realize it's probably better to talk to the person that you're working on. You can click on the video call to start a video chat. And that will call up, and as long as you have your headset or speakers working or microphone arranged, you'll be able to communicate. You can also go right into a video call. You can also go either way on your systems you're working with. You can start off as a video call, then turn off your camera after a few moments, or start on an audio call and then turn on your camera. So that way you can then switch back and forth between those selections. You also have the opportunity to do a share your screen. Sharing your screen allows people to see what you're doing on your screen, which is very handy when you need to check to do a demonstration or to inform people what's happening with the communication. We usually recommend just sharing your screen rather than giving control of your desktop. Giving control of your desktop usually will mean that the other person can do anything on your screen, working and interacting with your files directly or using anything under your profile. So that's a little listing on there to make sure that you mainly focus on just sharing the screen rather than giving control. And just as with our channels chat conversations we showed you over on Teams, you can also upload files here, as you can see at the bottom with our different icons, to allow you to go in and work with the file fairly easily. So this gives you different ways to work on your chats and do your communications and manage the different teams that you're working on. Now, as I said, currently with Teams, depending on how you're set up, you will have a calendar that you can click on to set up different meetings, whether you want to do an immediate meeting now, or you want to set up the meeting for in the future. You'll be able to click on New Meeting, and that will set up the opportunity for you to set up your meeting for your locations. You don't specifically need a conference room, but they include that conversation on there. You'll be set up as the organizer. You'll see I can set the start and end time, as well as adding some other specific details about the meeting. And once you're ready, you would click on Schedule, and that would be able to set up that meeting. If you don't have the calendar on your Teams programmed as of yet, most people, I first got used to it, most people will use it by going to Outlook. You'll click on Outlook, go down and click on your calendar. And on your calendar, you'll have the opportunity to create a new Teams meeting. You'll also see that under New Item, you'll see the Teams meeting on there. If I click on New Teams Meeting, it will be set up just like any other meeting. You'll go and put in who you want to participate in that meeting. You can either type in their addresses or click on To, and then I might set up a meeting here with Ms. Doby and maybe even Mr. Fuller, and you'll see it as their names. Now you can choose to put them in there as required or optional depending on your preference on your systems. I like to just add myself to make sure I get all of my update for my files as well. Whoops, wrong Proctor. And that will add my systems. And but even though once you add them, they'll both be added as a To location. Then I might have just a quick review session, MS Teams review. You'll see the location is set up for your Microsoft Teams meeting. You can go down and set a start time. We'll say next Wednesday. Normally you'll set up for 30-minute increments, although you can come in here and you can change your time that starts and change how long it's going to be. You'll receive a link to join into the meeting on the network. When you receive the meeting, it will add it to the calendar, and you can either go to the calendar and click on the link, or you will be able to click on the reminder box when it pops open, and that will take you into the meeting. If you are an administrative assistant, which is an E5 or higher, you will have a telephone number where you can call in and participate on the call and do it if you're having trouble with your computer. So you'll have that as an opportunity to work with it. If you're having trouble with your microphone or systems on your computer, it's a very handy tool. And once you're ready to go, you'll click on Send. And as I said, that will send off the message. And you can see some of the different team meetings I've had over this past week that I can go and work with. As I said, you can click on the link in the email. You can right click on the actual blue bubble to join the Teams meeting, or you can just wait for the reminder window to pop open and you can then click on that to join the meeting. And that will allow you to hop into the Teams meeting, whether you do it over in Outlook or here in Teams. Additionally, we can also go in and change our setup for our system to let people know when we're available and when we're not. Clicking up on the command box at the top, as I said, you can type in your slash to see all of your different slash commands. This allows you to set it up. If you're going to step away from the computer, you can use BRB or away. Or if you want to see those shortcut keys, you can type in /keys. I can go and select that and you'll see my keyboard shortcuts fairly easily. You can also set that by going to your profile picture and you'll see your different statuses that you can set fairly easily. This also allows me to go in and check my settings, as I mentioned earlier, to check how I've set up for my appearance of my system, what privacy I have, allowing people to still get access to me, even if I do have set my notifications for do not disturb, controlling how my notifications pop open on my screen, and check my different devices, as well as maintaining my calls for my system. So those are different ways you can go in and modify and set it up in Teams to change your profile status. With my teams, as we said, we have those to work with and see for our selections. And if you're through with the team, I usually recommend that you do not delete it. Although, as you can see by clicking on the ellipsis, there is the option to delete the team. You can also go in and manage the team if you need to see your different members that are available. You can go and check them in there to see who's been added. And I did add someone else and they might have left the team, so I can see that on my screen. If I need to add members, there's an add members button. I can go and search for them if I have a lot of members. If I need to check my pending requests, I can go and see people who want to join my team. My channels tab allows me to go and see what channels I have available. If you delete a channel, it doesn't get rid of it. It just moves it down into the deleted section, where then but it will remove any chat conversations. I can change my settings for my teams, give it a nice mascot picture, change what my members are permitted to do, change how to generate the code that I can email to someone so they can quickly join my team without me having to let them in, as well as what apps are available. Now, if you don't need a team anymore, rather than deleting it, you'll go down to the bottom of the Teams pane and click on the gear and show you all of your teams that you have created and you are an owner of or that you've joined. For example, if I scroll down, I'll see down here in the P's, my Parrot project. If I don't need it anymore for right now, I can click on the ellipsis to the right of it, and you'll see the option to archive the team. Archiving is preferred to deleting, as when you archive the team, it will set it as read only, but you can still make a few changes to it. That will move it down into the archive list at the bottom. So if you change your mind later on and want to bring it back out, you'll simply go down, click on the ellipsis, and you'll see that you have the opportunity to restore the team. That will bring it back out and put it back into your active listing. You'll see there's my Parrot project, but you might notice that over in my teams, it doesn't appear. Once you archive and unarchive a team, it will put it into the hidden teams listing at the bottom. This is listed alphabetically. So if I scroll down to the P's, you'll see there's my Parrot project. I can click on the ellipsis and show it again, and that will move it back up to the top where it was located. This is very handy as you can work with it. And if, as I said, if you change your mind and want to be a little bit more descriptive of your team, you can click on the ellipsis and click on Edit Teams. And this will open up with your edit team. So I might call this my Flashy Parrot project, and that will put it up at the top. I can also change my privacy settings to public if it was a private team, or private if it was a public team, so I can make sure it's accessible to anyone. Click on Done, and you'll see that the name is changed up there. So this gives you ways to update your team so you can access and move it around, so you can make it very easy to work with your teams and have them the status and with the channels and the tabs and the files that you need to work on, so you can communicate and get more out of Microsoft Teams. So hopefully this gives you a better way of knowing how you can go into Teams to set up your different tools, to rearrange your information, and get it to work the way you want to when you use Microsoft Teams.